What is the weirdest thing you have ever seen a stranger do? You know those sticks that dog walkers use to throw the tennis ball farther? I saw a guy just throw the whole thing with the ball attached. Dude did it twice. I saw a man stop in the middle of a crosswalk, examine 2 leaves he was holding, throw one away with disgust, and eat the other leaf. A guy on the subway once took a handful of loose nuts out of his pocket and offered me some. I declined. I saw an old man at a casino eat 40 or so peppermint candies. He would put 5 in his mouth or so, then swallow, then do it again. These were the ones you had to suck on for an hour to get anywhere. Today I learned how candy canes were made. When I was a kid, I saw a guy in church lick the entire cover of his hymn book, bottom to top, in one long stroke. I was maybe 10 and he was easily 40. It still haunts me to this day. Edit, because a few people have asked. No, he wasn't looking at me. It wasn't a perverted thing. I was behind and slightly to the right of him, so he 10 out of 10 did not know I was watching. Also fairly certain he wasn't doing coke. I didn't know him, but my parents did, and I'm confident it wasn't a drug thing, which makes it weirder, to be honest. Fuck yeah, amen, brother. Gotta taste the Lord to praise the Lord, I always say. On the bus once, there was this guy who was shouting at his hand for going numb. He then threatened his hand and told it that if it didn't wake back up, he would smash a bottle of alcohol and stab it with the broken end. I hope the hand filed a report against him. Right up there with the people that called the police on the whale under their boat. Lady in the airport, nicely dressed. She vomited in the middle of the walkway and just kept right on walking. Perfectly composed, hardly even broke her stride, as if throwing up on the floor of a crowded public space was just another task to tick off on her list. She sounds like a Sims character. There's a coffee shop located in the building I work in. When it was time to close, midnight, I was told a guy was sleeping in the coffee shop. I woke him up and told him I was going to lock the doors and he had to leave. He stood up and opened a bottle of water and poured it on his jeans on the back of his calf. I said, "What are you doing?" Meaning like, "Hey, you're getting water all over the floor, what the fuck?" And he just politely said, "That's how they work, man," and then left. It still confused the hell out of me. An old man in the train in full Lyrica who ate a whole 1 kilogram bag of raw potatoes. Sometimes you got to carb the fuck up. A guy wearing boxers running behind a car which he was chained to by the neck and the waist. He was being escorted by a couple of other cars while people cheered around him. I'm pretty sure there is a context to this, but I was just passing by the town, and no one from there could tell me what the fuck it was about. In my university dorm, one girl ate the same thing every meal. She would eat sliced bread, start at the middle, and eat it until the crust, but not eat it. So she'd have an empty frame of intact bread crust. Then she'd microwave lettuce and eat it. Scott at uni used to make a big pan of porridge on Sunday and eat it every meal for the week. One meal he would slice and toast the porridge. Next meal, salt and eat. Then fry it, butter it. He had a dozen ways of eating pre-cooked porridge. Believe it or not, this was common in Scotland. Kitchens had a special porridge drawer where you poured your porridge, let it sit, and then every morning you took a slice for breakfast. Kind of like a weird flapjack. Edit, nobody does this anymore. Microwaves and fridges are far more convenient and hygienic. It's definitely an East Coast thing, most common in Edinburgh. I was hanging out in Washington Square Park by the fountain with my buddy. Hot summer day, people have their feet in the water and just relaxing. I shit you not, a guy comes up jogging, places his water bottle under the fountain and chugs it, fills it again, and jogs away. Me and my buddy look at each other like, no way, dude. At a concert sitting behind an extremely sunburnt man, I watched him peel off a sheet of his burnt skin and then eat it as if it was a perfectly normal thing to do. I saw a woman on the train file her nails. In between filing each nail, she would lick the file clean. Saw a man wearing a shirt with the word legend printed on the front sit down on a park bench, pull out a wheel of cheese, and proceed to eat the entire thing in a few bites, then stand up and be on his way. Watched a guy on the sidewalk below the train platform bend down and casually put a pigeon in his pocket. Then he walked away. Dinner is served, I guess. When I was backpacking around Ethiopia, I ended up staying overnight in some tiny little town whilst waiting for my bus to my next destination. I saw someone walking down the street completely naked with a block of wood clenched between his bum cheeks. It was that strange and illogical that there are times where I question whether or not I saw it. I wonder how weird it looked. If you have a block of wood in a full-length mirror, you can find out. Just last week, I saw a man walking around my work with one shoe. I politely pointed out that he was missing a shoe, and he also very politely apologized and proceeded to pull out his wallet and attempt to wear it as his other shoe. Not my story, but one my dad told me. He goes to work very early in the morning, and one day he had stopped at Wawa to get some coffee. While he was pouring his coffee, he noticed a guy who had already put his coffee in the cup and was now standing in front of the cream dispenser, rotating his entire body like he was hula hooping to mix it together. Watched a guy nonchalantly scratch his balls multiple times, then wait a few seconds before pretending to scratch his nose. Did it about 6 times in a row. I mean, I've taken a whiff too, but geez man, it's getting real obvious. My neighbor and I drove to get dinner at Taco Bell one night. As we waited in line, a person who looked like a junkie sprinted through the parking lot and hit a spinning backflip. The most random shit ever. We were listening to some random rap song in my car, and we both saw an emaciated looking dude do a perfect backflip after sprinting into full. Just yesterday, I saw a guy walking down the street with a glass of beer. Consumption of alcohol in public spaces is illegal here, for the record. Another stranger walking in the opposite direction approaches him. Hey, give me your beer. Here's some cash. Go buy me a beer and buy yourself one too. First stranger obliges, gives the man his beer, and goes off with the money to buy some beer. By the time he's back, second guy has finished the beer. First guy hands a glass to the second guy, and they both go their separate ways. It was pretty amusing. I've seen a lot of crazy in the ER, but one memory takes the cake. A young female came in complaining of a headache, so we triaged her to the less serious, more clinic side of the ER. Now, wait times in the ER can be long, especially when you come in with something that's not really an emergency. Sometimes patients pull the curtains over the glass door of their room for a little more privacy or quiet. I go to enter her room to discharge her and fling back the curtain. There is no reason she should or would be indecent. She'd never have to even put on a gown. But yet some guy was in there 3 fingers deep in her while she's sitting up on the counter leaning back wide open. They jump apart, and apparently believing he wasn't really supposed to be there, the guy goes, "It's okay, I'm just her brother." Not exactly a stranger, but once in middle school, each of the students in my behind a jug, each as part of our gardening class. And I remember this one guy sitting near the end of the room, close to where the jugs were kept, jerking it off into one of the jugs, which I found out later belonged to a girl who he had a crush on. Funny thing is that they were in a relationship a year later, but I don't know if she knew what he did to that jug. My work allows me to witness all manner of strange human behavior. I've seen a man take a shit on a sidewalk without a care for being seen. I regularly eavesdrop on people talking to themselves or to a delusion. We see suicides several times a year and suicide attempts almost monthly. Lots of SoundCloud rappers filming shitty music videos. That's mad. Where do you work exactly? I operate a drawbridge in a large urban center on our graveyard shift. On one side of the bridge is our city jail, and on the other is a hospital where they take people who have been Baker acted, sectioned if you're British. A lot of crazy people about. One time I was at Walmart, and this is by far the strangest thing I've seen. I'm behind a lady at the checkout. The last item was one zucchini, but with a big-ass bite taken out of it. Cashier, did she bite the zucchini? Stranger, with a dead serious look on her face. No. Cashier, well, do you still want it? Stranger, yeah, just put it in the bag. From where I was, I could still see the glimmer of saliva from the bite. But even if she was telling the truth, why the hell would she buy a zucchini someone else bit into? I still think about it today. I don't know why, but a lot of weird shit happens around me, even though I try to stay away from trouble. Most recently was me going out to eat some pho, and this guy next to me casually eating noodles with his glasses instead of chopsticks or a fork. Part of me wanted to ask him if he wanted me to get him a pair of chopsticks from the front in case he had a bum knee or something like that. But like I said, I've learned that when weird shit happens, to keep quiet and mind my own business. I saw an older Asian lady vomit in a plastic shopping bag while on a New York City bus. She tied it up, and when we reached the next stop, she flung it out the window and it splattered all over the sidewalk. My neighbor and I drove to get dinner at Taco Bell one night. As we waited in line, a person who looked like a junkie sprinted through the parking lot and hit a spinning backflip. Most random shit ever. We were listening to some random rap song in my car, and we both saw an emaciated looking dude do a perfect backflip after sprinting full speed into it. Could have been a meth addict. I was living in Reno at the time. I worked at a radio station and was doing a remote at a car dealership. A woman walked up to us wearing a shirt, an apron-type skirt, no back, and men's boots, and nothing else. She had spray paint all around her mouth and kept asking to buy the special car. It freaked me out. Had to stop the car because the man was crossing the road while walking on all fours and had his arm in a woman's boot. Had to stop the car because the man was crossing the road while walking on all fours and had his arm in a woman's boot that went up to his elbow. He stopped midway across the road, waved to me, and continued crossing the road while on all fours he was like he was walking the boot as if it was an action figure or something. When I lived in Oakland, California, I lived on a corner adjacent to 2 bus stops. It wasn't a great neighborhood, and I got to see a lot of characters. The most memorable when a strung-out homeless woman sat up under the tree by one of the stops, laid on her back and put her legs in the air spread wide and just started masturbating furiously. The next time I looked out the window, maybe an hour later, she she was smoking rock right there. Then she didn't even put her shit away, but the legs went back up again with the masturbating. Eventually, the police removed her from the area, but she would come back and smoke there periodically. Back in high school, I used to sit in front of this girl during science. She was known to do strange things. Talk to someone who wasn't there, start screaming randomly, possibly mental illness. So we mostly kept away from her. Anyway, once I happened to turn around, she looked at me dead in the eye while scratching her ass, took her hand out covered in shit and blood. Then, while still holding my horrified face, licked her hand. Still haunts me to this day. Now I'm sharing my pain. Sorry.